Masochism, defined as one's tendency to derive pleasure from one's own pain. It is the driving motivation behind our love of scary movies and is alternatively represented here by our hero, this budding YouTube movie discusser guy, making his third video a deep dive into a movie seen by approximately 14 people. But this movie scared the ever-loving gobstoppers out of me, so we're going to talk about why. Spoilers ahead. Let's go.
You scared of dying?
Yeah, of course I'm scared of dying. Isn't everyone scared of dying?
I'm not going to call this the greatest horror movie of all time. I can't even justify calling it my favorite. Favorites are too fickle, too fluid to immortalize on a platform like this. But what I can say, with all of that in mind, for me, is the... Oh, Jesus. Sorry. That was, the wrong thing. I meant this.
I feel like something bad is gonna happen to me. I feel like something bad has happened. It hasn't reached me yet, but it's on its way. And it's getting closer. And I don't feel ready. I feel like I can't do anything.
This is the single most effective scare I've ever seen. And I've been lovingly addicted to horror movies ever since Jurassic Park trapped me like a tasty toilet lawyer and forced me to forever want my steaks served cold and bloody. I'm not even sorry with that one. But having a conversation about this with anyone will inexorably result in some variation of, dude, but have you seen? Yes, goddammit, I've seen The Exorcist several times. It's great. No, like seriously, it's awesome, but can we just take a breath? You and me. Here, come closer. Let's just turn off the tape recorder for a second. Off the record, okay? No one has to know we brought this up. The Exorcist isn't scary. Oh God, doesn't that feel better? Oh man. I could keep going with other titles, but I don't want this to escalate into a book burning. And if you disagree, I get it. I'm not saying there's nothing scary about them, and please don't misunderstand, I love these movies. They are excellent and passionately crafted versions of the things that live in the closet labeled scary. But strip away the passionate crafting, and what you're left with is this. Horror movies have always existed as singular and specific extensions of this, of one question. What if vampires were real? What if the dead rose from their graves? What if the various versions of hell exist and are full of demons who can take over the body of a little girl? Obviously, this is not unique to the horror genre, as fiction is defined by an author's rudimentary ability to ask the simple question. But in no other genre is there such a simple and consistent answer. It would be scary. What if a serial killer was loose in your hometown? It would be scary. What if the urban legend you were making a documentary about was real? It would be scary. What if the basic and inalienable rules of your world were intruded upon by something evil? It would be scary. This formula is inarguably successful, and that's fine. More than fine, even. I love horror movies and have no intention of degrading their value by presenting an unexpected example of the scariest movie scene ever. Exploring the unknown allows the viewer to interact with a story and inject their own suppositions into the cinematic experience, making for some of the most personal and visceral experiences movies have to offer. Horror is often the natural climax of cinema's potential. But what if a horror movie, understanding the formula, changed the question, challenged the need to explore the unknown, and proposed, what if the basic and inalienable rules of your world were intruded upon by something real? Would it still be scary? There is a trend with some modern horror films to sort of lean into this idea of using horror as a vehicle for narrative exploration, something some people have called post-horror, but as the awesomely talented and probably exhausted Ryan Hollinger, he does one of these a week, said on the subject.
This isn't anything new.
And I have to agree, horror movies wearing their metaphor on their sleeve is just something they do sometimes. It's not always great. Sometimes it is. And sometimes it's besides the point. Either way, it's not the kind of challenge to the form that I'm getting at here, so bear with me.
You scared of dying?
Yeah, of course I'm scared of dying. Isn't everyone scared of dying?
Lake Mungo, spoilers, is a 2009 mockumentary that mockuments the life of a family after the daughter Alice accidentally drowns at a local dam and, it is speculated, haunts the family home. It was written and directed by Joel Anderson, whose only other authorial credit is for a 2003 short film called The Rotting Woman, and who, according to IMDb, looks like this. And not that it means much, but this dude is kind of hard to find. The only interview I could dig up from him was given during the film's festival tours in Australia. It was transcribed on the Facebook page of After Dark Films. It spends a lot of time discussing budget constraints and the current state of the Australian film industry, but it does end on an interesting statement by the apparently reclusive director. We were thinking it'd be nice if... I'm not going to do the accent. We were thinking it'd be nice if we could make a film that was kind of a curiosity. If you saw it years from now, you wouldn't know anything about where it came from. You'd be wondering, is it real? Is it not real? Because of the film's framing, the events of the story unfold after the tragic loss of Alice. Ergo, the emotional journey that the viewer takes is not what will happen, but more how will these characters deal with what did happen. This is central to how the film distances itself from your traditional ghost story. Ghost stories are, by their nature, told from the perspective of the present being forced to interact with the past, forcing the audience to suspend their disbelief that ghosts exist and operate thusly. Lake Mungo is all too happy to captain that same old ship, offering the strange goings-on as legitimate fodder for a solid, albeit more of the same, ghost story. Then this happens.
So I got two photos, a photo of Alice and of the backyard, and composited the images.
That's a photo that I took of Alice.
Mum kept talking about, she was always talking about getting Alice exhumed, and she was really keen on this idea that Dad had misidentified her body.
And so I knew that without more evidence it wasn't going to happen, so I made the photograph.
The movie rips the carpet out from underneath your suspending of disbelief, something the movie could fairly assume you would do, because it knows it's a movie just as much as you know that you are watching one.
Up close and tight, you could see that it definitely was neither female nor Alice. It was Matthew.
And it has a whale of a time toying with you on that level.
Do you guys believe in ghosts?
No.
Building a rapport with your brain to frame your experience as a passive one, so that when simple answers are withheld and you're challenged to participate, you feel it. Something that really endears me to Anderson's script is that it consistently anticipates questions that will form in the audience's mind and answers them without hesitation or ambiguity. Questions like, is Ray a real psychic?
But what I think really hurt them more than anything was what they saw as my failure to see Alice's imminent passing.
No. Does Matthew know how fucked up it was to fake all those images? And I love that the writer, through his decision to tell the story documentary style, was able to forego the usual trope where a character will withhold certain feelings or motivations as a way of sustaining drama, wedging the story into a climactic scene where something we already understood is shouted into the face of another character who, for whatever reason, didn't.
You mind telling me why the hell you never mentioned this before?
You didn't ask us, sir.
Like, at one point we find out that Alice's mom, June, goes through a phase where she takes walks at night because she's having nightmares, and will sometimes go into other people's houses to make her feel a part of something normal for a minute. We find out later that this was discovered by the people in the town, and instead of a scene where June gets caught and the tension ramps up as the neighbors start worrying she might be dangerous or crazy and the audience lends valuable headspace to defending her actions and enjoying the narrative distraction from the point, we get this.
Well, I had heard about June going into people's houses, and Matthew never really seemed to want to talk about any of that. I never asked him about any of it.
That's really clever storytelling. It might feel like a reversal of show, don't tell, but the fact that we're watching a documentary means that we're subconsciously aware of the narrator. We trust that we are being shown what is important because the Q&A format involves a cue. And the experience is passive enough that we trust the interviewer to ask the questions we need answered. We move along at his pace, bouncing from one character to the next, asking our questions. Then what happened? How did you feel? Do you believe in ghosts?
I don't know that anybody's really convinced that they're going to die.
This is a motif throughout the film. Almost every character that's interviewed is asked that question, do you believe in ghosts? And the answers run the gamut from no to maybe to yeah, totally. And every answer feels genuine, like it's coming from a real person. No one is offered a defining moment of thesis where their answer is scripted over a montage of ghostly photos as they spout some thick, hazy nonsense like, "Death is not the end, my child. Our spirit must be cleansed of the grip of this world through the calming influence of my new audiobook." And it's this realness and perpetuity, this lack of salesmanship on the part of the filmmakers who've created a world where nothing is color corrected. The questions are ours and the answers are normal, that eases us into letting down our guard. We've seen the scares of the first act completely debunked. We've coasted along the second act, enveloped in this family's story of grief, and in the third act, when we've exhaustively answered the question for ourselves and heard these characters spit out every answer a person might have for it, we are asked one more time, do you believe in whatever you believe this thing to be? It may be a paradoxical question, but that's how the movie frames it. You can call it whatever you want, but here's the facts. Alice filmed this thing on her camera, which she immediately buried. It is neither a hallucination, nor is the footage tampered with. It is confirmed by her father, the only person in the story who saw her corpse, to be an image of Alice's dead body. So if it's a ghost, it's her own? From the future? We are given no information about Alice's life between this footage and the day that she died, a few weeks later, which means that whatever you want to call this thing, it is unimportant. It has no motive, nor agency, and it does not threaten, haunt, or kill Alice. It means that after the encounter, she did nothing of note until the day that she died. Nothing that anyone she knew felt warranted mentioning in a documentary about the events leading up to her death. She didn't seem ill. She didn't act abnormally quiet or withdraw from her relationships. She was just alive. Until she wasn't. The result of a turn of events having absolutely no causal relationship with this most unimportant monster. This bringer of nothing, this representation of our expectation that there be a monster. It is an omen of stale news, a prophecy told in reverse. It does not matter because it changes nothing. The true horror of this film is in how it captures our relationship with death.
You scared of dying?
Yeah, of course I'm scared of dying. Isn't everyone scared of dying?
That we are more comfortable accepting the existence of something traditionally evil.
But I think Ellie saw a ghost.
Than something real.
I don't know that anybody's really convinced that they're going to die.
I feel like something bad is going to happen to me. I feel like something bad has happened. It hasn't reached me yet, but it's on its way.
Death is neither evil, peripheral, nor sensational.
It's the meanest, dumbest machine there is, and it just keeps coming and it doesn't care.
It is universal, and it is the one thing living and breathing underneath the masks that scary movies provide. Horror is a genre that understands our contradictory nature. We want an opportunity to explore the depths of our fears and depravities, but we also want assurance that we will survive. We want a monster that haunts or attacks because if it's a battle, there's a victory to be found, a sense of hope to walk away with. The monster is not the horror, it is the blanket under which we hide to prolong the inevitable. Lake Mungo perverts this relationship between movie and audience by providing only this wispy, see-through bullshit for us to cover our eyes with, offering as little protection as possible from the thing we are truly afraid of.